Your media, where you are.
Welcome to another episode of The Calling with myself, Neo. And for some of you, you know me as Mkhulu Nkanyamba. Whichever you choose to go by, it's totally okay with me. And in this installment of The Calling, I just wanted to address something. You'll notice that we don't have a guest today. And I just wanted to delve into something that oftentimes a lot of us take for granted, or at least according to my observations, I see a lot of people taking for granted. And I'm just cutting across board, all right? But a lot of times, because nginyanga, and it means that a lot of times I go emanzini, melengambisa abantu, and we perform certain rituals to assist people with whatever challenges that they may have. And I guess, this particular message, I'm directing it more to practitioners as opposed to, people that would normally go to practitioners for assistance, right? And even you, the ordinary person at home that is not a practitioner, but you are, observing a spiritually inclined way of life, right? I think this message will also resonate with you. Oftentimes, I've been to Mfuleni, and a lot of times I go back without even doing what I had intended to do. All right. Now, we especially a lot of people who were raised maybe Christian or, very godlike Christian type of way. I'm not too sure about any other religions, but I'm sure you also can all identify with this, that, there's that phrase that cleanliness is next to godliness, and today my focus really is on cleanliness, right? So remember I said, oftentimes I am going to the river to do whatever. I'm taking clients there. I'm going to perform one or two ceremonies or rituals that I need to perform for either a client or for myself. And oftentimes I've found myself not being able to go ahead and do that. Why? Because of the condition of the environment that now I am trying to operate in. Nkalukbuza, may I ask, fellow practitioners, irrespective of you consider yourself umzayoni, umprofita, umjeriko, a shaman, be it whatever you consider yourself, umsangoma, ungaka, whichever, right? How do you feel when you go to a place, right, where you are supposed to perform some sacred work, some healing work, some cleansing work, and the environment that you're about to step into and to perform that work is littered with all sorts of things, you name it. Containers, milk containers, containers of cartons, bujwala, alcohol, whatever you may be, other people may have used. And, you can tell that this is litter that was not left by people who had just gone out to say, we're going for a picnic or we are going for a leisure time. But this, you can see that it is litter that was left by other practitioners like yourself, right? And it baffles me that, doesn't it hit you? Really, doesn't it hit you that you're going to have to come back to this spot and actually do something else for somebody else? Do you not feel a sense of responsibility to keep that spot clean? If you're around, you're working around the areas of Soweto and surroundings, there's places like Osnake Park, which is a stream that a lot of Inyanga or a lot of traditional healers like to go to. And you'll find, Uguti, it's damn near impossible to feel okay with addressing any work that you have to do there because of the amount of litter and the amount of debt that has been left there. So today, my bone of contention with you traditional healers, with you people that go to the river to cleanse people, all right, is the state which you leave those areas in. It makes it impossible that one can believe. Imagine you're taking a client there and you're trying to convince the client that I'm here to cleanse you. I'm here to help open up whatever blockages that may be in your life. And then when they view the spot that you are about to perform, whatever it is that you're going to perform to help them, they look at that spot and they say, there is no way that anything right can come out of this. It is these little things, all right, these little nuances, all right, that can make what could have been a very successful execution in helping somebody end up being something that only brings them even more blockages in their lives. And with that said, I think you understand this bone of contention, this gripe that I've got with traditional healers. And I'm calling all of you out. I don't care whether you are a sangoma, uyinyanga, umprofiti, or you owe it to the rest of your fellow practitioners to make sure that the space that you operate in, you keep it clean before you work there and after you have done working. Why do you leave your curtains there? Why don't you do what you got to do and then take those curtains, take your rubbish bag with you and put those things in there? Why do you leave the alcohol bottles open there as litter? Guys, it's not on. All right? And I know there are certain things that maybe you might have to leave there. But can you keep it in mind? Bear in mind that other people, you are sharing the space with other people. And then we get surprised that as inyanga or as practitioners or as healers, a spot that we used to enjoy and frequent, where we used to go and help a lot of people there, we get surprised now it is being closed. Now access is no longer granted. And most of the time it is because of the conditions we leave that space in. Now, in my walks of life and in this work that I've been doing now, I know that idlozi, umoya kaNkulunkulu, does not tolerate shoddiness, untidiness, debt, and so forth. So, how do you suppose, Uguti, you're going to help somebody genuinely with their spiritual issues or with their life's issues if the space in which you are operating is not neat, is not cared for, is not clean, and yet you are taking somebody for a cleansing? We need to inspire confidence. That is why we are not taken seriously as practitioners, as traditional healers, as spiritual guides, as abangoma, sangoma, or ngaka. And a lot of times it has to do with the way in which we conduct ourselves. So, and cleanliness, I am not only referring to the physical elements. Yes, they're most critical and they're most prevalent because those, when you enter into any space, it's the first thing that you look at. Even when you go into a practitioner's operating space, be it indomba, be it an office, be it a room that they've converted into a space, right? In which they do consultations, in which they look after people. Now, the one thing that I can tell you and that I can share with you without a doubt, idlozi, moya kaNkulunkulu, awuzwani nokunqola. Absolutely. It is amazing what would happen in terms of your operations and in terms of your life, in terms of what you're trying to conduct as a practice. Because really, I think the problem is you're still thinking, Ogoti, you are just an ordinary person. Yes, we are ordinary people, but the work that you are doing is extraordinary, and you need to treat it with that kind of extraordinary care. Idlozi anyeke lisebenze the way mele lisebenze ngakhona where there's filth. So maybe, just maybe, because I understand that when we operate, others those of you who did not self-twasa, all right? But those of you who belong to Impande, I'm sure Leon Mpande or that initiation school, there's quite a number of you. Why don't you come together and dedicate a day? Doesn't have to be every week, it doesn't have to be every month, but once in a while to say, you know what, today we are going to take care of the environment. Because, you know, as spiritual people, we work a lot with nature. Almost all the ingredients that we use and the herbs that we use to heal people, to administer whatever treatments that we've got to administer, almost all of them come from nature. All right? The water that we use, somebody will say, "Meluthola manzi wesiziba." Now you're going to go to a stream, Yolanda manzi wesiziba, but you look at that siziziba. You look at it and it stinks. It's filthy. There's all types of dirt. There's all types of things that have been thrown in there by the previous practitioner that was there. And then you get there yourself and you operate within that space. And you add on to the filth of that space. Would it hurt you to come together as Impande A1 and dedicate a day that, listen, we are going to go to that space that we normally operate in, and we are going to dedicate 3 hours, 4 hours, just picking up the dirt around there. I'm not saying that you'll be able to do it and clean everything, but imagine if each and every single one of us were conscious about this, all right? And you made it a point that whatever mess you create when you get to a particular spot of your operation, you clean up after yourself. Let us start it right there. Ngithi nendomba yakho noma ingangqola and it becomes filthy and you haven't cleaned it, you haven't swept and so forth, you'll notice clients, they start declining. The things that you administer, they start not working. The help that people hope to find, they start not finding it from you because your space of operation, you have neglected to keep it clean and to keep it, can I say, wholesome. When someone walks into your space, just from seeing the condition of your space, it doesn't matter what you got in there, all right? But just by stepping into your place, the first thing that should meet them is the cleanliness, the warmth of the cleanliness of your environment, of your working space. You know, a lot of you, you're going to run around saying ukuthi banithakathile, saying ukuthi yini ngathi le dlozi alikho, or why does it seem like this gift, I don't have it. But we are neglecting the most basic of things. Cleanliness. And I live by that. And I know most practitioners that live by that. You can actually see the value and the results of their good work. Not because they are better than everyone else, not because they are greater than everyone else, but they're taking care of the basics. They're taking care of the basics. You understand? Here is another one. And now remember, I said, I'm not going to just look at cleanliness from just the physical aspects of things, from just sight, right? My other question is, how do you administer the work that you're supposed to administer and attend to a client, a patient for that matter? This person needs help, right? We live by a different set of rules. And one of those rules is cleanliness in every aspect. Spiritually clean. You're taking care of your body. The body is clean. It's healthy, however way that you can. And mentally clean, right? Now, we know, Oguti, we are normal beings as well. We've got day-to-day lives, and we've got things that we are obligated to and so forth that we've got to do. And you're a normal human being who has normal human being behaviors. But I'd like to think that now that we are living in this calling and with the responsibility of healing others, assisting others, and just, serving others, we are held to a higher standard as opposed to everyday jabu no sipho no saying, You understand? And one of the first things is I often ask myself, even in church, right? When a pastor comes and he puts his hands over your head and he holds your head, he places his hand on your head and he prays upon your life and he's praying for all these good things and so forth. What is the status of that pastor? What is the status of that nyanga? What is the status of that prophet? What is the status of that shaman? I often wonder about that, because if his status is that he was engaging in things that would be considered spiritually unclean the previous night, there is no good that is going to come out of him placing his hands over you and speaking positivity upon your life, because he himself is contaminated. She herself is contaminated, is unclean in that particular moment in time. And I'd like to think the rules are pretty clear, irrespective of what background you come from. But you do know that, really, if you were engaging in fornication, sexual activities the previous night, I'd like to think that you need to go through a period of cleansing, however way you've been guided that you need to do it, before you go on placing your hands on other people, before you go on administering medication and herbs to help somebody. Right? Because all you are doing, you are adding more onto the troubles that they have. Because whatever that you would be doing or that you would dish out as treatment for that particular patient would now be contaminated by your own hand, by your own actions, by your own doings. So, do you see where this goes? And it starts with the small things. It really, truly starts with the small things. I can tell whether you're going to be able to help me or not as a patient coming to you by the conditions of your space. If the conditions of your space, where you're operating from, are a lot more filthy, and there isn't some kind of cleanliness that I can identify, some kind of neatness that I can identify, yeah, I can put up with maybe the untidiness that maybe the day was busy. But constantly, we need to keep our spaces clean. So if I'm a patient and I'm coming to you and you are supposedly going to help me, I'm really going to have a lot of doubts about what you can possibly do for me that is positive when your own space does not inspire any positivity. When your space, and positivity, that comes from the conditions of your space. Look after yourselves. Clean up your spaces. Look after your spirituality. Look after your gift. More than anything else. And then, what is this thing, guys? Yoguti, ningagezi amabai wenu, or whatever tools that you're using. What is that? I cannot overemphasize the detriment, right? That the way in which you conduct yourself in terms of keeping a clean space and keeping yourself clean and keeping your things clean, it can lead to. There's another healer not too long ago who basically came through with an issue guti agasaphupi agasaboni. They no longer dream. They don't get visitations from their guides. And they think that there is something wrong with them. And I sat with this person and literally, said, look, let me visit your place. Come, let me see the space in which you operate in. When I got to that space, already from the gate, you could just see there was a lot of things that had been thrown around, even if they are tools like amanchomani, the drums that they use for beating and so forth, whatever it is that they do, right? But things were just lying around, so untidy, not neatly packed, and they invited me into their home, right, before we even went into Indombaya, and there were dishes strewn all over the place. Like, the kitchen was just a mess, and you could see that, there isn't a culture of, washing dishes or keeping the house clean and so forth. And literally by that time, literally, have you ever even been afraid to even ask for a glass of water? Because you're wondering if they're going to pull a clean glass out of their cabinet, or they're just going to take a glass from that sink that is full of dirty dishes and so forth and pour you water from the tap in that filthy glass. Have you ever been in a space like that? And I asked them, and I remember we sat down for a while and we spoke, and I was just trying to get a feel of the place, what could be wrong and so forth. And then we went to Indombayabo. That is like another one in J. There was just tabs, there was improper labeling. When I say improper labeling, literally I mean that, when they were looking for, because I was asking them, do you have certain apps or do you have certain umuti or tize that you can use to cleanse your home and so forth, before we even spiritually cleanse your home, and literally they went through containers. They were looking at their containers, mayonnaise containers here. It seems like that's the favorite, right? And literally the labeling was so terrible, because now at some point this person was confused which is. And I know when you're uinyanga for a while, right, you start learning, or you start knowing guti, or you open it up and you smell it, you inhale the aroma or the scent, and then you are able to tell exactly what it is, and so forth. But you will not know all of these things, all right? And you won't always get them 100% correct. And I know that some of us, we are a bit paranoid about labeling these containers on the outside. So, some kind of way of keeping order for you to make sure that at any given point you'll never make a mistake in mixing the wrong herbs for a particular whatever issue a patient has come to you with or came to you about. You understand? So now, can you imagine, from walking in the gate, I'm seeing things left just lying around as if there's no order. Going into the house, and you can just see izitsha, you can just see the floors and so forth. Guti, this has nothing to do with money. It just has everything to do with one taking the time to clean their home. I'm not saying go out and get a maid. I'm not saying go out and spend money. But I'm just saying that take the time, take water, clean up your house, take a bit of soap, clean up your space. Idlozi anyeke lisebenze. Your guides will not work in a filthy space. No way. No way. You start attracting other different types of elements when you perpetuate keeping a space like that. You start attracting the very same things that you are trying to cast out from people when you operate in a space like that, right? So really, now that's where you start seeing a shift, right? Where you start realizing, no, but when I try to heal people, it doesn't seem to work. But when somebody comes to me and they want to destroy others, I seem to be very strong at that point. Because you are literally feeding that side of the spiritual that is destructive. Literally, by just the space that you keep. So now, like I said, we walked in Ndombeni. There was a lot of confusion around the herbs. And I was like, hey, yeah. And literally, once I picked up the situation and I read the situation, yes, there were issues that this person needed to attend to in terms of ukulungisa izinto zakhe zobunyanga and in terms of what could have gone wrong and so forth, right? But before I could even get to that, there was a very strong sense that this person, more than anything else, they really need to clean up their space. So do you see the consequences that you might have to live with by not taking care of something as simple as cleanliness within yourself, around yourself, within the space that you operate in, so that you can continue to heal, you can continue to do work of the light, right? Now, let me move a little bit further. Remember when I spoke, and this applies to everyone, really. For me, I really don't care whether, you don't do the whole Sangoma thing, or you don't do the Nyanga thing, or, you just a prophet and leza zinya awuzingeni, or you just umfundisi who prays and preys upon people's lives and so forth. It affects all of us as practitioners. Traditional healing or faith-based practitioners. It affects all of us. Tell me something. We all at some point have used or would want to or would need to use the services of a Western medical practitioner, right? Now, if you go to their practice and you see injections that were used lying around, and you see trash flowing out of their trash can, and you see what looks like, tissues or some kind of cottons lying around in jail, just not being disposed of properly, would you be confident in that doctor's ability to take care of you, in that doctor's abilities to help you with whatever ailment you're struggling with, whatever disease that is afflicting you at that time? No, you wouldn't. So why do you expect, when as a faith practitioner, as a traditional healer, why do you expect other people to be understanding of the conditions of debt and filth that you are keeping and you are not doing anything about? Why should they be confident in your ability to actually help them? It brings disrepute, not only to yourself, but to the entire practice. Did you know that 8 out of 10 South Africans, be specific, black South Africans, consult with traditional healers? 8 out of 10, that's 80%. Clearly, there is an innate trust in our ability as traditional healers or as faith practitioners to be able to assist them, right? But however, if we are going to carry on like this and at least not manage the most basic of things, do we think we'll keep seeing this continued patronization of practitioners like yourselves, like ourselves? You being a pastor, you being a prayer warrior, you being a Sangoma, you being a prophet? Absolutely not. It would be preposterous of us to expect people to continue, patients to continue to patronize and to trust us with their lives. Because when somebody comes to your practice, they're literally trusting you with their lives. So, with that said, right, patience, my advice to you is, if it don't look like it's a place of healing, it's a place where you can get help, the chance is you are not going to get the kind of help that you need to get. The chance is you're going to walk out with more problems than you walked in with. You're going there and you are paying your own money. Because one of the things that I know is that this industry is a cash industry, right? The way we are so scared, or the way people are so scared, you pay them cash. So if you're going to be spending your hard-earned money, the least that you should demand is cleanliness. If you've just joined me now, you are tuned into the Calling with myself now, all right? If you want to send me an email, whatever that you'd like to discuss, or whatever that you'd like, for us to have as a subject to look into, or there's somebody that you'd like to recommend for us to actually interview and have a conversation with us, then you're more than welcome to drop us an email, all right? That email address, it's thecalling@yomedia.co.za. It's thecalling@yomedia.co.za, right? But my message to you for today is, can we please, inyanga, masangoma, profit, any of you that use the environment, that go out to the environment to perform some of your other work in healing people, can we try and keep that environment clean? Can we have a day as Impande or as people who work with nature, dedicate a time where we can go to these spaces that we operate in and actually try and clean up those spaces, pick up after the mess that we've left behind. Let us cleanse the spaces. And, you don't start cleansing the space by just going there and start bending your herbs or throwing around its why and so forth. But you clean it by physically removing dirt, by physically removing litter, by physically removing things that are not supposed to be there, things that are not part of the nature that you have found there, that the nature that has been borrowed to you in order for you to execute the work that you need to execute, to help the people that have come to you. At least we owe the environment that much. Now we go to the next one. I'd say, your home, keep it clean. Amaluz alungile. Guides, your spiritual guides or your angels, whatever you refer to them as, they cannot possibly operate in a space of filth. So please, try and keep your home clean. Inspire confidence in the patients that will be coming to you for help. You are blessed with incredible gifts that Western medical scientists are trying to figure out how on earth do these people manage to do the things that they do. From my circles, I know people that treat stroke. I know people that treat cancer. I know people that treat other deadly ailments that people struggle with, right? So clearly, a majority of you are greatly gifted, but the condition within which you operate in and the conditions that you allow to go unclean dim the light and dim your ability to do great work for clients that come to you. The third one, cleanliness is not, I'm not only referring to the physical aspects and elements of it. I did speak about somebody, who is a pastor or a priest coming to lay their hands on you, yet yesterday they were in bed with whomever they were with, all right? During that process, there is some kind of uncleanliness that, befalls one. Now, there are processes. There's uguzila, huila, that must happen, or some kind of cleansing that one must do. But I really cannot imagine anybody being effective having a few hours ago been in bed with somebody, and then they are coming with that energy, and they're supposedly going to lay hands on me and pray for me, and then I'll get healed. All right? And I will not only refer to fornication, but I'm referring to a whole lot of other things that people do, right? That then become something that would be unclean in the spiritual, irrespective of where you come. There is a reason why in certain religions, in terms of their doctrine, in terms of their ideology, they don't eat certain foods because they are deemed unclean, right? They don't partake in certain indulgences because those indulgences are considered unclean. If they were to partake in those things, they know that they'd have to stay a certain period to go through cleansing, right? Before they can actually now start administering whatever service that they have to administer in terms of their spiritual work, in terms of their calling, all right? This also applies to abantu abashonelwe, right? Like, I know that in most instances, 99.999% ebunyanyeni, if ushonelwe, you are unable to do your work. with patience, and so forth. So, do you see how important cleanliness is? Right? Before you start running around uthi bakuthathile or somebody has done something to you, the first person who is responsible for things going wrong most of the time in our lives is ourselves. It is by our actions that we create holes and other entries into our space, into our work, for enemies and for dark things to start coming through, infiltrating and destabilizing our gifts and destabilizing the work that we have. So for today, that's the message that I leave you with. Do join us again on the next episode as we cover other pressing topics. All right? But I hope the information that I've given you, it's a point of departure where you can start. And I'm also talking to you as well, patience. There's no healing that is going to happen to you if you go back to a space that is unclean. So now, zilungise, even yourself, work on yourself and clean your space. So with that, remember, cleanliness is indeed next to good, next to godliness, next to anything and everything that is positive. Yes, you've been chilling with myself, Neo, right? Mkhulu Nkanyamba on The Calling with Neo. And I look forward to hearing from you. Do drop me your emails, or you can even leave comments on this channel. All right, there's a comment section there. You can leave me your messages, so forth. I do read all of the messages. I'll get to them, and I will respond accordingly. But once again, thank you for the spiritually curious. Until we connect again, have a lovely day.